Hello, everybody. This is a Lamley Showcase. Different one at that. I don't typically do entertainment kind of stuff. That's really not my forte. Here and there, if the car is interesting, and the cars are interesting in this one. That's number one. Number two, I rarely do kind of a compare and contrast, like one brand versus the other, especially when you're talking Hot Wheels and Mini GT. But I think this is important because, not important, interesting. Change the words. Because Mini GT has moved into this very interesting project of doing high quality premium replicas of James Bond cars, 007 cars. And they've just gotten started with these two Aston Martins that have been released. And then, of course, we are used to the James Bond cars in the Hot Wheels line. And the approaches are very different. There's an element with Hot Wheels that it's kind of like Fast and Furious. You know, we get an Aston Martin because Hot Wheels has this license with 007. They'll create an Aston Martin and they can take that casting and move it into other things, as will Mini GT for sure. You'll see it with some castings, maybe not with others. So kind of in the same way, I'm happy that they have this because we've gotten a few Aston Martins that came from James Bond and then have gone into other realms. And then we have, and then sometimes they'll just take a model, well, Hot Wheels in their approach, and you know, they take that casting and then they'll change it around a little bit, even though it's basically the same casting. They might change the shade or something like that. So we're going to go through some of the James Bond Hot Wheels cars, and then we're going to go to the Mini GT, and you can tell me which one you enjoy collecting. Maybe within your Hot Wheels collection, you like just getting a couple Aston Martins, a couple of James Bond cars, or you want to go, what the lean in that Mini GT is doing is pretty phenomenal. And if you're a James Bond collector, you're going to be way into this. If you're a Mini GT collector, I would love to know your thoughts. If you're going to be trying to get all of these as well, or when casting, we'll talk about that in just a second. Let's walk through Hot Wheels first. I've got this brand new Aston Martin Vanquish. That's why I thought this was a fun video to do, because I've not opened this one up yet. But we'll walk through what I have. It's not a lot, because there's been a lot of other 007s, and I'm only focused on Aston Martin today. There's the Mustangs and the Lotuses, the Esprits, and then the Esprits that are submarines, and then there's other cars as well. But we're only going to focus on the Aston Martins. And I've got, we'll just put them on the turntable really quickly. We have like this one. This is one of the basic ones. There might have been 2 or 3 basics. I know they've been in some of the Walmart lines. There's some wind. Walmart lines, Walmart special lines. I have only kept one in basic. I have kind of an Aston Martin collection. And I do this collection very much like I would others. Just they're Aston Martins, and I keep them in there. Since that other one fell, we can move the camera. That's one of them. If we're going through, and we'll stay focused on the DB5, right? Because the 1963 DB5 is the classic James Bond car. Here is another one. I have 2. There are different shades. They were released at different times, and I think they're from different movies, but I don't know because I opened them. So this is the lighter shade one, but I know that the license plate on this is correct. And I think, one of them was it Skyfall, I think, where James Bond brought out the classic Aston Martin, the DB5. I think that's one. I think one of these is from Skyfall, so the shade is a little different. And then I have this darker one. Could be the newer one or the last one. I don't know. Obviously, no gadgets on this, just as is, and the Aston Martin DB5 casting, which is beautiful. And if you're just into Aston Martins, you get this very cool, very beautiful, classic Aston Martin. We'll get to that with Mini GT because the same thing happens. The only other one before I open up the Vanquish is the DBS. I have absolutely adored this casting since it was released, and it was an Aston Martin casting that was made not for James Bond, but just for the basic range. And here's the first one I have. I think there was a basic one. I don't have it. At least I didn't pull it out. This was the first one done for entertainment several years ago. I like it, don't love it. The only reason I don't love it is because the wheels are not low profile enough for a DB5. They chose these, I think they call them the GT Real Riders. And it didn't totally work, especially when, the way I look at a DB5, it's got to have low profile wheels. It's got to have a lot of spokes, a lot of good spokes, not be too deep. So it was okay. I was glad they did a premium version of it, but it wasn't my favorite. I'll move this here. But they corrected that. And a year or 2 ago, they released it with proper 10 spokes. And that's all we need. That is all we need. They didn't have the 10 spokes when they released it the first time, but this one returned to entertainment in this beautiful, beautiful version, and I think it is fabulous. All right, so there's the first 3. To add to this very gray dark charcoal gray. Let's add the Vanquish right now. This is on the pegs right now. I found it at Kroger. I've seen it at Target. I've seen it at Walmart. Doesn't seem to be one that people are like clamoring for. Oh, I like to open from the bottom. Didn't do that. That's okay. So here it is. There's other Aston Martins. There's that Valkyrie. It's a terrible casting. I didn't collect it. There was that other kind of supercar. I don't remember that one. Don't have that one. This is nice. The Vanquish is very nice. I think Ron designed this one. Oh, I didn't even pull out the... All right, I'm going to put it on after this one. I did forget one. I did forget an Aston Martin that needs to be in this. And so I'll do it in the turntable because I kind of blew that. It's starting to snow and I don't have time to go get it. You know what? All right, there it is on the turntable. Let's finish it. We have to be complete. I can edit. I'll be right back. You know, you got to do it right. Almost forgot this one. In our shades of gray. I mean, come on. Very much gray. This is the V8, the Aston Martin V8. I remembered it when I was showing Ron's other Aston Martin. I was like, oh, he did the V8. If I don't show it, I don't do this video properly. There it is. So we can put this together, but we're not done with the Hot Wheels Aston Martins. At least the James Bond Aston Martins. Let's see how long it takes while we do this, because we also have this guy here. So I'm going to move these over here. This is, if you're going to collect James Bond, this is the Comic-Con. If you haven't seen it before, if you remember the Daniel Arsham models from last year, this is the first time they did this kind of packaging. There's the wind, and it's fabulous. So I'm going to show you this. Goldfinger, celebrating 50 years of Goldfinger. I don't know what year this was, 2014. But this is the first time that they use this kind of packaging, which is kind of brilliant. Snow's really coming. Look at that. So, if you're a James Bond collector or an Aston Martin DB5 collector, this thing is fabulous. Notice the cool packaging. Notice the 007 embossed in the back. I'll open this up very quickly. Put it on the turntable. There goes the box. This beautiful, beautiful chrome Aston Martin DB5. And I'm going to close it up again because it's snowing. And I don't particularly want this out in the snow. So we will go ahead and put that away, and let's talk Mini GT. When it snows, you go in. So we're going in. All right, that ended abruptly. It started to just come down a little bit. I had to run and get the other car, and then before I knew it, it was coming down heavy, and I'm looking out the window, and it is coming down, and my hands were near frozen. I couldn't feel them. So we had to stop, but we're here in the studio. A little bit of a makeshift because I want the space, but we're going to talk a little bit about what Mini GT is doing, and we'll get more into this as more castings come out. If you remember, about a year ago, I did a interview with Glenn Chow from Mini GT about this series. He kind of a passion project he talked about. He wanted to do James Bond. He grew up on James Bond movies. He loved the cars, and he approached what studio? I don't know what studio. Who's the license through? Mayer Studios about doing James Bond cars, and he even talked about, like, the question was asked, like, what could you do that, you know, other brands that have done James Bond replicas haven't done already? And he said, well, I'll give you a quality casting, and that he for sure has. And he said, and we'll be very detailed about them. Like, we'll be subtle in the changes. If there's a difference between one car to the next, you know, generation-wise or movie-wise, even like, you know, like side markers. I think he talked about this. Some of these Aston Martins will have some very subtle differences. And then he said, and we'll do a special kind of packaging. So when I say Hot Wheels versus Mini GT, I don't know if versus is the right thing. It's just two different approaches. Hot Wheels does not need to do this kind of approach. And the cool thing is you got the Hot Wheels angle, which are the toys, the premium toys, nice replicas, but you're going to get some very cool, very realistic models from Mini GT and a little bit of a very cool touch of history with the packaging. So What you're looking at here is the Aston Martin DB5 from the movie Thunderball. Pick up the camera so you can kind of take a look at it. We'll open up the model here in a second so we can see it. We also know we're doing Aston Martins today. Over the next few months, we're going to see more 007 models come. I think he's worked on a BMW from the, why did I say Remington Steele? Pierce Brosnan, James Bond, one of those movies. We're going to see Mustangs. We're going to see Jags. We're going to see a bunch of stuff coming. We're just going to focus on the Aston Martins because right now there's only 2 versions of the DB5 that have been released. So we're going to see this coming up, and I'm sure we'll hear more from Glenn about this. But I really did want to show these models. But for a second, turn your attention to this box that when we open it we'll use, and the background of the packaging. These will come in these kind of clamshell packaging, all of them. I think in every market, and there's a reason I know this. One is that Glenn said it, and number 2 is this is the movie poster for Thunderball, and I think in this one, this is either in the United States or England or both, but you can see, and maybe once we open it up, there's even more of the poster here. Almost makes it worth opening up all of them because you can get the full extent of the poster. This is the true poster from when the Thunderball came out. So look up, look down, and something. Look 007 maybe? I don't know. We'll know when we see it. But that's the movie poster for English-speaking markets, and that is what will be released in the English-speaking markets by Mini GT. But there are others as well. For example, I hope I get this right. This is either Italian or French, and I think we've got, let me look here. Oh yeah. I'll just show you. Opération Trueno, which might be French. It's just like or this might be Spanish. Name of the movie. It's not Thunderball, obviously, in these markets. And then you get, I think this is French, right? This is from the French market. There's the movie poster for the French market, and that's what the car that will be released. And then you get this is Italian, I think. Released for the Italian market, and you get that poster as well. The car is exactly the same. If you look at them, you'll notice that they're exactly the same. I got a 4th one here too. This one is from the Japanese market. And so if you open it up and open up the box, you can see this. And you could actually probably just rip open or cut open the clamshell and then have the movie poster. Save those. And I'm tempted to do it just because I like storing my Mini GT in the boxes. And I'm sure they have like a holder in there for these cars. I hope they do. They do typically, but then again, this is the only packaging that exists. Nonetheless, they're doing these different posters for different markets and the posters that were originally in these markets. And obviously, I need to get to know all these different languages, but I think we've got French, Italian, English, and Japanese here, which is super, super cool. All the same car. So the question is, as I asked at the beginning, do you, as a James Bond collector, do you want all of these so you can get all of these posters? And I think they, through hobby dealers, I think you will be able to you don't have to just live in a particular market to get these. I think they will be made available, and I don't know exactly how the distribution will go. Mini GT sent these over for me to showcase. But also, or because you're getting 4 of the same car here. So you could display them this way, or you could cut out or you could rip out the posters and keep the cars in the boxes. I don't know. Or do you want to are you cool with just one? You're going to open it up, or are you just the one in English or the one in a different language? You could do that. So I'm going to move these off to the side. We're going to open this up in a second. We'll focus on the models. But we also have Mini GT has released this Aston Martin, which is pretty much the stock Aston Martin, is it not? I mean, stock goes the same. There's a lot of gadgets in there, but, well, I think this roof portion is cut out. But I don't think we see anything. I guess when we open it up, we can do it. But they also released the Goldfinger in 3, and there might be a 4th, and I don't have it. Goldfinger is Goldfinger in any language except maybe Japanese. So, yeah, so here's the English one. James Bond is back in action. Everything he touches. What does that say? Excitement. Everything he touches turns to excitement. James Bond is back in Goldfinger. Now this Aston Martin's different, but we'll get to that in a second. Here's the Japanese one. Movie poster's totally different. Look at those. And then French, I believe. This here. Totally different poster. When Glenn says this is a passion project, this kind of stuff really says this is a passion project. And I think Mini GT, their approach, Glenn's approach, this reflects Glenn's approach to things, right? Whether it's racing cars or classic cars or modern cars, the way Mini GT does it. And obviously they do cars on other scales as well. This very much vibes the way I think Mini GT likes to do things. Not only give you a really cool replica, but something kind of special, which makes it kind of hard to open these, to be honest. But we're going to open them. We're going to open, not all of them. So I'm going to take this French Goldfinger. I really love the packaging of the Japanese one, so I'm going to keep that. Put those off to the side, and we're going to open up, we'll open up the English language ones. So that one, here's the Japanese Thunderball. That one's going. That's the American or the English. I mean, I don't know if this was the American poster or like English poster or both, just English language poster. UK poster is what I mean. Here is that Italian, I think, and French. Oh, that's French. I don't know. I got to get those. I speak Portuguese, but half the time trying to read them is the problem. So, looks like we have, this one has gadgets in it, this Aston Martin from Goldfinger, and the Thunderball seems to be stuck. So let's try and get these. I'm going to spare you me trying to cut off my finger, so I'm just going to cut these open off camera. All right, they're open. One day I'm just going to show up on these videos and you're going to be like, John, where are your fingers? And I'm going to be like, I tried to open a clamshell. I'm just biding my time. All right, open up. Let's do the first thing. Look at these. These are actually really nice. I'm going to move this off to the side and we'll talk about the model. This is a thick cardboard. So you could conceivably like display these if you wanted to open these up. Because obviously a lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool art is covered by the car itself, right, in the box. And you get the full movie poster. It's tempting to have, I mean, the car displays nicely in front of these posters, but if you're a James Bond fan, having them like this, I don't know, maybe you can already get access to the poster, but that's really cool. And the card just fell off. Here is the Goldfinger poster. I can show you the back. This is already the back. You got all the licensing stuff here. Licensing stuff there. Licensing is always important, and Mini GT is one of the great examples of that. They do it right. And this one, so the packaging is different too. Or the way the car is held, probably because this one has a lot of different pieces. So boxes are actually quite nice too, really clean, quite beautiful. So you do get okay, so you're getting packaging, proper packaging for these too. Like you're getting all the licensing stuff, all the licensing information, officially licensed product for Aston Martin and 007. Yeah, the boxes are really pretty too. And you know what? I got to make sure. Good. So yes, you can store the car. Let's make sure that this actually works, because this one has a very unique, yeah, yep. They've made it so that you can store the car in the blister and then in the box. But we're not going to do that now, but you can do that. Good. Okay. Good, 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 because I like to store these in the box. All right, let's just start with the, I mean, is stock the right word? Factory? I don't know. Let's go ahead and put it on the turntable. There's a lot of details here that I'm not fully aware, about the cars themselves, and what's different about this one compared to another outside of the gadgets that we're going to see on the other casting. But what years, what things to look for that might be different about the James Bond Aston Martins than, say, just a standard Aston Martin DB5. If standard is the proper way. The wheels are very cool here. It's kind of lace style. It's just, I mean, this one is just if Mini GT said we're going to do an Aston Martin, like Hot Wheels, right? Hot Wheels did the DB5 and they said now we can make it a James Bond. That's what this one is. And so it's nice to have. And I really, you know, as someone who likes less about the movie cars and more about the car itself that happens to be in a movie, this is the one that I'm most excited about. And it's a stunner of a model, really nice to scale. But if you are a movie fan and you want cool movie cars, this thing is wild. This is the Goldfinger one. No moving parts. There's been questions, does this move? No, this is display. So this is, so it's like what would happen if what it would look like if it were deployed, right? Get that fixed. So I think the front, okay, so there's an oil slick, but I don't know if we see that here. I can't remember from Goldfinger what these little pieces that protrude from are they guns or are they, I don't know what they're, I think this is a bullet shield in the trunk. I think that this little piece that comes out of the wheel is a tire shredder, if I remember correctly. And the other pieces, this is where, it's same thing with Fast and Furious. I can't remember what movies they're from, and I can't remember all of the details. But I do like James Bond movies better than I would say Fast and Furious. But anyway, so I also noticed something different about this one in Thunderball. This one doesn't have a side marker. This one does. So this is accurate. This is something that Glenn and the team do their research and says, not only are we putting all these little James Bond gadgets on here, but this is the type of Aston Martin that was used that has a side marker. So that one gets that, while the Thunderball one does not. So that will be accurate. And that's something that Mini GT is really serious about with these. So there you go. These are great. I have one of each. I will be opening these as I go and at least storing them in the boxes. But I guess the original title, Hot Wheels versus Mini GT. I mean, the Mini GT for the James Bond fan is, I mean, there's no comparison, right, between the two. Having a Hot Wheels as a James Bond model, have a Hot Wheels replica of a 007, I don't think that can go wrong either, so that's great. But what Mini GT is doing, and this is the last time we'll do the comparison because, you know, Mini GT is moving into a completely different realm with these James Bond cars and these models. And I would imagine we might see these, at least, you know, the more factory versions of these cars maybe bleed into the rest of the Mini GT line, but they don't need to. These are phenomenal. You guys tell me what you think. Thoughts on all of this. I'm excited. As one who doesn't collect a lot of movie cars, I'm excited to watch this one develop because I think the castings Mini GT is doing are special. And like Hot Wheels, I'm really happy to have a lot of these Aston Martin castings because of James Bond. Said enough. I'm done. You guys tell me what you think. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mini GT. Bye.